The New World Order is coming. Are you ready? Stand by for insights so startling you will never look at the news the same way again. For the next 30 minutes, you will be on the cutting edge.
This is David Bay, Director of Cutting Edge Ministries, on the internet at www.cuttingedge.org, a fundamental Baptist outreach ministry uniquely trained in black magic witchcraft, the prophesied religion of Antichrist. When you view the daily news through a double lens of Bible prophecy and doctrine on the one hand, and a knowledge of black magic witchcraft on the other, you will only then truly understand the events and our leaders of the day. The views expressed belong to us and are not necessarily shared by this station. Stand by for eye-opening news. Today's program is entitled The Satanic Activities of Secret Societies and is program number CER 1117, that is 1117. In past programs, we have stated that the New World Order, that's the kingdom of Antichrist, could not have been realized had it not been for the intense activities of various secret societies throughout the world. We have mentioned one very important worldwide secret society, the Brotherhood of Death Society, whose symbol is the skull with two crossed bones. The German Brotherhood of Death Society is called the Tool Society. Adolf Hitler joined the society in 1919, becoming an adept under the leadership of Dietrich Eckart. Later, the Tool Society selected Hitler to be their leader of the New World Order, as Eckart revealed on his deathbed, saying, quote, "Follow Hitler. He will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. I have initiated him into the secret doctrine, opened his centers in vision, and given him the means to communicate with the powers," unquote. That's according to Trevor Ravenscroft in the Spear of Destiny, page 91. In August 1991, President George Bush announced that the world had now entered into a new world order. Shockingly, President Bush is an adept in an American Brotherhood of Death Society, the Yale Skull and Bones Society. As we stated earlier, Bush's New World Order is virtually identical with Hitler's. The key connecting point is the common membership in their respective Brotherhood of Death Societies. Even more shocking is the fact that President-elect George W. Bush is also a member of Skull and Bones, as reported in an article called The Secret Ingredient, The Witness News, by Curtis Dixon in July 1999, and he was quoting an article in the Washington Dateline. One of the most important understandings to gain is that this elite Illuminati society requires members to affirm that Jesus performed his miracles through the power of witchcraft. This is the unpardonable sin, which means that an initiate of Skull and Bones who affirms this belief cannot ever be saved later again in his life. Now let's study this connection between these two Brotherhood of Death secret societies, the German Tool Society and the American Skull and Bones, in depth today. Let us begin with a quick overview of the Tool Society, beginning with a study of its practices and relevant history. We shall be taking our information from a book written by a practitioner of white magic witchcraft, Trevor Ravenscroft, in The Spear of Destiny. White magic folk really and uniquely understand black magic. They were Satanists, he says, who practiced black magic. This means that they were, quote, solely concerned with raising their consciousness by means of rituals to awareness of evil and non-human intelligences in the universe, and with achieving means of communication with these intelligences, unquote. That's on page 161. Concentrate on that seemingly innocent ritual or word rituals. Christians equate a ritual to a church service, thereby not understanding its occultic meaning. The New Age Dictionary defines ritual as, quote, a ceremony to restore balance with nature and bring back lost harmony and sacredness, unquote. Remember, we are dealing here with the satanic world, where good is called evil and evil good. The sacredness mentioned here is a satanic sacredness. Rituals literally are prescribed activities designed to allow demonic power to flow through the participants. These activities are prescribed chants, formula wordings, and carefully planned actions. As we noted last week, the effect is devastatingly powerful, as demonic force pours through the participants, delivering a counterfeit spiritual experience which literally transforms their lives. Never skip over the word ritual, as it is a word of satanic power. Tool members practiced a form of sexual magic derived from a lodge of which Aleister Crowley was a member. Crowley was recognized as the foremost worshiper of Satan in the 19th century. Ravenscroft says, quote, the origin of this medieval magic can be traced to a Freemason, Robert Little, who founded the Societas Rosicruciana in 1865. That's on pages 164 and 65. While the actual sexual perversions which are practiced in these rituals are too offensive to share, the results are not. Author Ravenscroft stated that, quote, indulgence in the most sadistic rituals awakened penetrating vision into the evils of, that indulgence in the most sadistic rituals awakened penetrating vision into the workings of evil intelligences and bestowed phenomenal magic powers. This is the Tool Society. Ravenscroft records the effect of these sexual magic rituals upon Hitler. He said, quote, sexual perversion took a central place in Hitler's life. A monstrous sexual perversion was the very core of his whole existence, the source of his mediumistic and clairvoyant powers, and the motivation behind every act through which he reaped a sadistic vengeance on humanity. That's on page 171. Eckhart's final act was to initiate Hitler into, quote, a monstrous, sadistic magic ritual, after which he was sexually impotent. Hitler's impotency had a deep psychological foundation. He knew sexual fulfillment only through the extremes of sadism and masochism. And this impotency delivered a final devastating blow to Hitler's psychological foundation, finally making him into the sadistic murderer that history knows only too well. The Tool Society believed in, quote, a communication with a hierarchy of supermen, the secret chiefs of the Third Order, unquote. The quality which makes these beings supermen was occultic spirituality. Further, they believed in Madame Blavatsky's secret doctrine, which teaches a certain supermen had survived the destruction of Atlantis with their higher levels of consciousness intact. These supermen were called Aryans. These two beliefs combined into one through the Tool Society and Hitler and culminated into the Nazi death camps. When one group of people incorporate into their spiritual belief structure that they are inherently superior to another group of people, it is inevitable that genocide will be attempted as soon as possible. The Tool Society regularly held occultic seances, during which time they communicated with demons who were either masquerading as a dead person or who were just appearing as their guiding spirits. Dietrich Eckart, Alfred Rosenberg, and Adolf Hitler invoked the spirit of Antichrist into manifestation at the mediumistic seances of the Tool group in Munich. That's Ravenscroft, page 168. Eckart believed he had been told by his guiding spirit he would have the privilege of training the coming great one, the Antichrist. From the beginning of their association, Eckart believed Hitler was Antichrist. Therefore, Eckart spared no occult knowledge, ritual, or perversion in his attempt to fully equip Hitler for that role. Once the training was completed, Hitler believed that he was, quote, born anew with that spiritual strength and resolution he would need to fulfill the mandate ordained for him, unquote. Hitler literally equated this with the Christian claim to be born again. Now let us look at the skull and bones rituals and beliefs. Little is firmly known about skull and bones because of their secrecy since they were established in 1833 is as complete as any society in the world. However, they possess all the requirements of a true secret society. They were formed in secret and all their activities are carried out secretly. Membership is by invitation only. Potential members are carefully screened as to suitability before they are invited to join. And on the first night, the new member, who is called an initiate, is critically important. The initiate swears total obedience and loyalty to the secret society. This pledge is bound by serious oaths, some of which would be deadly if actually carried out. The first night is actually critically important as it bounds the initiate to the society by means of ritual, oaths, and confessions. Skull and Bones also incorporates death rituals into their society. Quote, the symbolic death of the initiate will be as frightful as the use of human skeletons and ritual psychology can make it, unquote, according to Esquire magazine in an article called The Last Secrets of Skull and Bones, written by Ron Rosenbaum, page 89. Sexual perversion is also part of the psychology. Rosenbaum, the author of this Esquire magazine article, states that on the initiation night, called Tap Night, he said, quote, if one could climb to the tower of Weir Hall, the odd castle that overlooks the Bones courtyard, one could hear strange cries and moanings coming from the bowels of the tomb as the 15 newly tapped members were put through what sounded like a harrowing ordeal, unquote. Further, initiates, he said, quote, lay naked in coffins, tell their deepest and darkest sexual secrets as part of their initiation, unquote. These experiences in the coffins incorporated sexual pain and resulted in being born again into the order, as we mentioned above. Powerful force charges through the participants of these ceremonies, transforming their lives dramatically. This type of ritual is classic Satanism. Anton LaVey states in his book, The Satanic Rituals, companion to the Satanic Bible, on page 57, he says, quote, the ceremony of rebirth takes place in a large coffin. This is similar to the coffin symbolism that is found in most lodge rituals, unquote. Make no mistake about it. Any organization which utilizes this coffin ritual to simulate rebirth is practicing Satanism, and that includes Skull and Bones. The Skull and Bones believes that on the night of initiation, the initiate, quote, dies to the world and be born again into the order, unquote, according to this Esquire magazine article, September 1977, page 89. Remember Hitler's belief that he had been born anew after his ritualistic initiation and training? This term, born anew, is a common one in occultism. During the 1988 presidential campaign, a TV reporter asked then Vice President Bush if he were a Christian. Bush initially stammered, but then said, quote, if you mean born again, then yes, I am a Christian, unquote. Now we know what George Bush meant by his deliberately misleading statement. As born-again Christians carry out the ritual of water baptism by immersion to demonstrate that they have died to the old way of life and have been reborn into a new life, Satanists have their ritual to demonstrate the same life transformation. Rosenbaum continues his expose of the born-again experience in Skull and Bones. He says, quote, then it's into the coffin and off on a symbolic journey through the underworld to rebirth, which takes place in room number 322. There, the order clothes the newborn knight in its own special garments, implying that henceforth he will tailor himself to the order's mission, unquote. This ritual description is as occult as any I have ever read and truly reveals the Skull and Bones as occultic. One of the most sobering facets of this counterfeit born-again initiation ritual is that the initiate swears to an allegiance to the secret order that transcends any allegiance later in life. New Age author Bill Cooper captures this disturbing fact most succinctly. He says, quote, members of the Order of Skull and Bones take an oath that absolves them from any allegiance to any nation or king or government or constitution, and that includes the negating of any subsequent oath which they may be required to take. They swear allegiance only to the order and its goal of a new world order. According to the oath Bush took when he was initiated into Skull and Bones, his oath of office as President of the United States on January 20th, 1989 means nothing. That, unquote. That's Cooper and Behold a Pale Horse, pages 81 to 82. Since the oath as president occurred after the oath to Skull and Bones, it is not worth the paper on which it is printed. That kind of hold is powerful. Indeed, as Ron Rosenbaum began the research necessary to write his article for Esquire, he was warned about the power of Skull and Bones. He was warned, quote, the power of bones is incredible. They had their hands on every lever of power in the country, unquote.